Hey, what's going on, Blazer fans? It's Tori, and I just wanted to throw a quick disclaimer on the beginning of this video. Now, I already recorded it right after Jake Layman ended up getting signed and traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, this might have been my most negative video because honestly, I was and still kind of am very upset about what the Blazers did in regards to Jake Layman. I also possibly am taking it out a little bit too much on Hezonja, but I don't think replacing Layman with Hezonja is a good move. So I apologize if I'm a little too negative for your liking in this video. I'm just being 100% honest in it, which is something I'm going to do more as I state later. But I just wanted to throw this disclaimer on just to warn you, just to say I'm rooting for Hezonja. I hope this works out, but we'll see. So with that being said, let's jump straight into the video. Earlier today, it was reported that Jake Layman is being signed and traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, he's being signed and traded for a bargain cost of 3 years, $11.5 million, which is around $3.8 million per year. What were we signing and trading him for? Well, a traded player exception, and a Bojan not named Bogdanovic. That's a Euro who will never play in America, and a traded player exception. Dwight Jaynes reported that the traded player exception is $1.8 million, and I have no idea how it's that little. Jake Layman had to have been signed for a starting salary around $3.5 million, so I don't know why it's only half that. When moving on to the move itself, I guess it was time for Portland to make a bad move this offseason because that is what I think this is. It was no secret that Stotts didn't like Layman. It might have been because he moved too well off the ball, I have no idea. But even with a terrible second half slump to the season, Jake Layman's stats last year were still pretty good. Still shot over 50% from the field, his 3-point percentage was around 33%. Wasn't a terrible defender in my opinion, wasn't a terrible rebounder. He played a lot better with Jusuf Nurkic in the starting lineup, moving off of him. He moved great without the ball, and was just a decent serviceable player who I had confidence in going forward, because if he was able to turn that first half of last year into what he regularly did for a full season, he was going to be a very solid player for us, and now we dumped him for basically nothing. Now apparently Mario Hezonja is going to play for us next year. The same Mario Hezonja who was straight up awful last year for the New York Knicks. Had a true shooting percentage under 50%. He's being touted for his playmaking, but he's never really averaged that many assists per game. His assist to turnover ratio last year was 1-to-1. He shot around 27-28% from the three-point line last year, and he was one of the worst players in the league. And with Portland going into the mindset of, it's time for us to win the championship, I don't see how you can rely on a guy like this to help you win a championship. Now, I know it's likely that we upgrade our rotation at the deadline, but this reeks of letting Pat Connaughton go and bringing in Nick Stauskas. Now, the argument for Nick Stauskas was, oh, he'll fit great in our system. He's been in bad situations before this, but then in Portland, Nick Stauskas' numbers were no better than they were early on in his career. Now, I know Hezonja is a different player than Nick Stauskas, but now all of a sudden I'm hearing all the same arguments again. Portland's system made Layman look a little bit better than he was. Portland's system will do great things for Mario Hezonja. It's just like everything that was being said about Nick Stauskas last season. Of course, last season, Pat Connaughton went on to the Milwaukee Bucks, who was the best team in the regular season in the entire NBA, and Pat Connaughton played a big role on that team. He was a very good player. Nick Stauskas, as I said, wasn't any better than any other stop. Giving up Jake Layman is like giving up Pat Connaughton. Relying on Mario Hezonja, I think, is going to be like us trying to make something out of Nick Stauskas, failing, and then upgrading him at the deadline. Now, I would have been much more accepting of Mario Hezonja going into last season when we were of the mindset of, we just got to be competitive in the first round and stop getting swept. Now we just made the Western Conference Finals. Now the West is looking like it's going to be wide open if Kawhi doesn't go to the Lakers. Now it's time for us to win a championship. That's why I'm not a fan of this move, because Jake Layman showed last year that he can play serviceable minutes on a contending team, and that was his first year getting regular minutes. He was going to build off that. Mario Hezonja has gotten a chance 4 seasons in a row now, just like Nick Stauskas had before coming to Portland. And during those 4 seasons, he's shown to be a player that's not deserving of minutes on a contending team. Now, Hezonja could turn out to be the right move. I could be wrong about this. He could end up being a guy that could help us. He definitely has some raw potential. He was the 5th pick in the draft for a reason, but a lot of that was due to his ability to create off the dribble as well as shoot the ball. And in the end, I was just hoping that now that we were actually trying to contend and Olshey was doing good moves, that we had moved past this mindset of trying to get unheralded bargain basement players who have been awful during their NBA careers and trying to turn them into serviceable pieces. I was hoping that we were done using Evan Turner and Nick Stauskas level players in our rotation. But now it looks like we're right back to that with Mario Hezonja. And Jake Layman moving on confirms it. Jake Layman is flat out better than Hezonja. I've explained it on my Twitter, and you can go follow me at ToryJonesYT if you want to see some reasoning and some advanced stats that show just how much better Jake Layman was last season than Hezonja. But instead of making the safe decision and choosing the better player in Layman to be our backup power forward, it seems like Neil Olshey has to get cute at least once a summer and try and take a guy who shouldn't be in our rotation and turn him into something serviceable. He did it with Stauskas, and here we go with Hezonja. Now, I've heard an argument that Jake Layman isn't big enough or good enough at the power forward position to be our backup forward. He isn't a good enough rebounder. But I find that funny because he rebounds at the same rate as Anthony Tolliver, and very close to the same rate that Hezonja does. Now, we could end up using this traded player exception to get somebody useful, and then this trade wouldn't be bad at all. If we were able to flip it for a guy like a Willy Hernangomez from Charlotte, who would fit into that $1.8 million traded player exception, then that would be good because he's a guy who I'm really high on, and we need a backup center to hold us over until Nurkic gets back, and possibly a backup center to be behind Nurkic when we trade Whiteside at the deadline. Now, for everything negative that I've said about Hezonja, I am rooting for the guy. I want to be wrong. I'm not the guy who wants to be right when I think that a move for the Portland Trailblazers isn't going to work out. I was super excited to see what Nick Stauskas did on opening night last season when he dropped 24 points against the Lakers. It's not coming from a standpoint of, I want to see this dude fail or anything like that at all. It's just me simply analyzing the move from a basketball standpoint. And this season, in regards to analyzing things on my channel at Blazers Uprise, I'm going to be 100% honest. And it's going to be coming from the standpoint of, even if I don't think they will, I still want whoever wears a Blazer uniform to succeed. I just think this move is not a good one by the organization, and I don't see this going well. Now, Hezonja was introduced today, and he was quoted as saying, "I had to experience New York, so I'm just meeting everyone today and saying, I'm sorry for last year, I'm just really happy to be a part of this." Now, Portland went after him last season, and he signed a $6.5 million one-year deal with the New York Knicks. He turned down Portland. And obviously that was a good thing because we got Seth Curry for much cheaper, and he was much better for the Portland Trailblazers than Hezonja would have been. And honestly, I can't see the optimism of a guy who has been extremely streaky, prone to very bad slumps, but has the potential to be a solid, maybe even good three-point shooter. His shooting was one of the biggest reasons he got drafted. He can hit shots off the dribble and off the catch, even though he hasn't been all that efficient during his career. He's also athletic, not a bad defender, and can handle the ball and pass a little bit. In 3 games at the end of last season, he was used as a point guard and distributed the ball well, and actually had the best 3-game stretch of his entire season, maybe even his entire career. But then again, those games were against bad teams putting out G League worthy lineups. So in the end, I'm upset about this move. I wanted us to keep Layman. I think we would have been a better team if we retained Layman, but this traded player exception could be helpful. It could turn into something where signing and trading Jake Layman and getting back whoever we get for the traded player exception makes it worth it. It could turn into Mario Hezonja proving me wrong and me cheering him on while he does so, but I'm disappointed in the move that the Portland Trailblazers made today in signing and trading away Jake Layman. So anyway, let me know what you think about this move by the Blazers. Are you disappointed? Would you rather have Layman than Hezonja as your backup four? Do you disagree with any of the points I've said in this episode? Give me some substance as to why you disagree with me and we can discuss this. Anyway, that's a wrap for this video. I will have a Rodney Hood video coming up. I'll have an Anthony Tolliver video coming up, so stay tuned till then. So anyway, I'm out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been Tory. I'll see you later. Peace out. Go Blazers.